So I'm about to torque down the crank bolt here, one of the final steps, and it goes at 217 foot-pounds, and you need a way to keep this from spinning to hold it while you tighten this. You could also use this to loosen it, though when I loosen it I just cranked the engine. But I just made a tool out of this, so it's either like a 2x6 or a 2x8 right here. Either one of those would work, I think, and I'm just going to show you that it works right now. So here I've got the torque wrench set to about 217 foot-pounds. And here, as you can see, these screws, I don't even think they really bent at all, held up fine. And in order to make this, this is a 2x6, you can just get a 2x6. About 33 inches long, seems to be the perfect length. You can just rest it on the ground and do it by yourself. And from center to center to each bolt where you want to drill, there's going to be a little less than 3 inches. To figure that out, I would just put a piece of paper inside of that harmonic balancer, the crank pulleys, and then just put little dots. You really want to get these as perfectly centered as possible, and then try to drill these as straight as possible so you can actually get them into the holes fine. Mine were like a tiny bit off. If they're a tiny bit off, it's okay. When I put it on the crank pulley, I just had to tap it in from the back with a hammer until they get in. And I'm sorry, I can't tell you what size bolts these are. I already had them lying around, but I would just bring the crank pulley, if you don't have bolts at home, bring the crank pulley to a hardware store. And don't use the bolts that thread into it, because they're going to be a lot skinnier and they're going to bend easier, although they probably would work. But what I would do is get the biggest, the thickest ones you can that'll fit in the holes, because the holes are a lot bigger before they get threaded. And then what you're going to want to do is measure in the holes in the crank pulley and make these just short enough before they start hitting the threads, because you don't want to be messing up the threads in there, and you want them like, yeah, just long enough before they start hitting those threads. And then you want to get it so this, you can get it flush with the front of that crank pulley, so that way these aren't going to bend and it's going to hold stronger. Oh yeah, and in order to get these screws the right length, I just took an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel and just cut them. But you might be able to, you know, measure them first and find one's the right length already at the hardware store. And in order to get these perfectly centered on your measurements, I would just take I took a little like a straight pick and just tapped a little hole in it, and you could just start out with like a really small drill bit, just to make sure that when you drill the hole with the bigger drill bit, it's going to want to jump around. Do it with a really tiny builder at first, so make sure it's like perfectly centered, because if they're not in line with the holes, you're going to have to redo it. And then in order to get the socket to fit through in the center, just take a 1 3/8 wood bit like this, and then it makes it just big around to fit that through. So thanks for watching, hope that helped you out. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, blah blah blah. Leave a link in the description as usual, eBay link. If you buy anything on eBay, after clicking on that link, give me a small commission, help support my channel. I find that eBay is the best place for car parts, tools, stuff like that, so check it out. Thanks for watching.